What looks fun in movies, but in real life is miserable. Shooting a gun indoors with no ear protection. More. Owning an artisan bakery coffee shop. My favorite variant is the Hallmark universe where an artisanal chair maker can base his entire business around a single holiday and somehow make enough money to convince a single woman to give up her high-paying city job to live with him. Hanging up on people in movies. It makes you look badass and mysterious. In real life, it makes you look like an inconsiderate asshole and will prompt a WTF happened call back. You used to be able to slam a phone down in its cradle. That was the fun part. Now you just angrily swipe a red button. Not so fun. At least with old phones the other person could hear the phone slamming down for a fraction of a second before the call cut off. Now it just cuts and it's indistinguishable from getting cut out because of bad signal. So it's likely they'll call back and ask if you can hear them now. Anything put in a montage. I did a montage once. I had to scan a bunch of documents. Some of the pages had staples in the middle of the page. So I played montage music and pretended to be in a movie. Made the time go by quicker. It was also a way to pass the time when I was the only one in the document room. Tell me you said enhance at least once. Every time I had to zoom in. Being an attorney. Objection. I blame Phoenix Wright. Moving. Painting and fixing up houses, apartments. You've got to put one foot in front of the other. Curse you. I love that song and it is so catchy. You're awesome. Sleeping in the tall grass. I'm sure you've seen the memes, but in reality, those fields would be infested with bugs and they'd more than likely bite you. I had a cinematic stargazing experience with some friends. We lay in the grass and watched a meteor shower and talked about life. I found out the fun way the next morning that I was allergic to grass mites. Same. We were laying in the grass looking at stars in a public park and got the crap scared out of us when a homeless guy walking by that we didn't notice meowed at us and left. Then I realized we laid near fire ants. The next day one of my arms was so unbearably itchy. Kissing while treading water. Good luck not kicking each other, knocking heads, or getting a mouthful of snot. Montages where they're working hard, especially if it's a glow up thing full of exercise and dieting and self-improvement. In reality it kinda sucks. There's no fast forward, no silly music. Looks up at clock. Oh, it's only been 15 minutes. Listens to Eye of the Tiger in its entirety. Nothing happened. Stakeouts. Tried it once. So boring. My husband did one once. It basically consisted of sitting in a parking lot all night unable to turn the car on for heat or music and having to stare at the back entrance of a grocery store. He did it for 5 nights. Sounds incredibly boring. Not only boring, I reckon it would be torture on someone's back being unable to really move around much. At least in a chair you can kind of stretch, rotate your ankles and whatnot. There's not that much space in a car. My office is a car I'm in 9 hours a day. Can confirm it's heck on your back. LOL. Same. Whenever I get to an account and we go into the office area, they take a seat and tell me to pull up a chair. I decline 99% of the time, saying I sit all day. This is a needed break. It also mentally exhausting. Driving all day while the phone's ringing and people start telling you a bunch of numbers while you're going 70 miles per hour down the highway. I've trained a lot of my customers to text me the info and then call me on it if you need to clarify something or other. But some customers just can't grasp that I'm either in front of a customer or driving down the road. Never just sitting stationary. LOL. I don't know if they are fun, but a lot of jobs are portrayed as a lot more exciting in movies than they are in real life. In the 80s it seemed like every profession eventually got a greatest in the world movie. Greatest jet pilot, greatest pool player, greatest bartender. All starring Tom Cruise. He was a pretty good jet pilot, too. Fighting on top of a moving train. Always make me think of the Archer episode where he was so excited to fight a guy, but soon found out the reality of it really sucks. It's like my eyes got sprayed with a glitter gun. CPR. On TV it's just a fun cutesy little water coughing thing that you recover from immediately, and in real life it involves breaking ribs and maybe dying anyway. Probably dying anyway. It's only 40% effective in cardiac arrests, and even then only 20% of those people go on to live past their hospital stay. In the movies they like pump 3 times and breathe into their mouth once, and the person is miraculously on their feet and everyone applauds. Where are you getting those numbers? Out of hospital CPR has about a 10% effective rate, and that's being generous with the phrase effective. 10% is better than 0%. Layman CPR is only about getting oxygenated blood to the brain until the ambulance shows up. There's no way the heart will start up again. Which is why it's best to be several people and take turns. Cause the compressions breathing need to go on until the medics arrive. Elaborate pranks. Great for comedies, and also great way to duck up relationships. Confuse. Don't abuse. Prank everyone is laughing, including the person it was done to, otherwise you're just a dick. I remember one of those horror prank shows struggling with the name here, where usually someone was put up to it by their friend. The prank was always different, but usually involved the victim being afraid for their life in some way. In one of them, the victim and the pranker show up to a wine tasting. The pranker needs to use the bathroom and is taken behind a door by the person doing the tasting. After a few minutes the victim follows and sees her friend hooked up to a chair, having her blood drained to make the wine. The proprietor of the wine tasting was cackling evilly, wielding a knife, and being very over the top cruel and evil. The victim was just crying and sobbing and offering to trade spaces to save her friend. "Please, take me instead. Just let her go." And the guy was clearly flummoxed for like half a second before catching up and playing into it for a bit. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. LOL. Killing people. I always think I could do it, but I get traumatized when I have to kill a field mouse that found its way into my apartment. So I guess that answers that. Nightclubs. What? Nightclubs? In the movies. It looks cool. You meet friends there, instead of grumpy strangers, and you have fun group interactions. What? I could feel the ringing in my ears reading this. Drug use in general. Heroin stops feeling good at like 2 weeks into it. Note to self, stop at 2 weeks. Use spontaneous H. Living on a desert island. My dad actually did run away and live alone on an island for a while west coast of Canada, where there's loads of them. He always says that, while it was nice. The problem with being entirely self-sufficient is that you have to spend such an enormous percentage of your time not dying. There just isn't any time to appreciate being one with nature, or living by the fruits of the earth, or any of those hippie reasons you'd think to do it in the first place. He also says he has no trouble eating things covered in sand as a result of the experience. Digging a hole. Cartoons make it look so easy and quick. In reality, hours of back-breaking work will get you 6 inches down. Depends on where you dig. Sand. Go nuts and have fun. Next to a tree. Enjoy spending 95% of your time trying to hack through roots. Used to live in a rural part of Massachusetts. Ground was mostly rock. The only part that wasn't impossible to dig in was an old farmhouse garden. The house was next door to our lot that several generations had picked rocks out of, supposedly. Land in the area had been offered to veterans of the American Revolution for free, but they'd turned it down for being too rocky. Edit. And now I'm understanding the RIP Mine Barks feeling. Yeah, rocky ground is probably the least fun to dig in. Enjoy that jolt up your spine every time you hit even a small rock while digging. Hacking and software development in general. God, I wish it was actually as badass as people make it out to be. High school. Yeah. Those high school kids have like 30-minute breaks between classes, if they are even going to those classes. In reality, I had like 5 minutes that I spent most of running to get to class on time. I didn't have time to talk to friends or use the toilet. We had literally 3 minutes between classes, and that was with 3 conjoined buildings, so sometimes you'd have to go down 2 floors, across and down half a floor, and then down another floor, just to get to your locker, and then possibly back to somewhere else. Of course, if you had 2 or 3 classes in a row that were far from your locker, you just had to carry your books and materials for all those classes together. And we had 22 minutes for lunch. That includes waiting through the line and going between your classes before and after. Getting knocked out with a blow to the head. Move is like waking up from a nap. Real life pain. Headache. Problems for months if not years. Yep. Fell down the stairs and hit my head, no other injuries, but I was off work for 9 months with post-concussion. Sleeping 20 hours a day. Hormones all ducked up, like I started randomly producing breast milk. No energy. Constant hospital appointments to see neurologists, endocrinologists, have MRIs, x-rays, ultrasounds. Not to mention in real life. Often that one blow to the head kills people. They always seem to be able to judge just how hard to hit someone with a metal pipe to knock them out long enough to tie them up. Crammed frat parties. I went to one thinking it would be a great first time experience, but I really just ended up hating how stuffy the place is and how drunk some people can get. Superhero landings. That's why I use a 4-point landing. Archaeology and paleontology. They only show the glamorous artifact fossil reveals, a few swishes of a brush and bam priceless relic. Forget all the tedious groundwork, painstaking site processing, and site prep. Not to mention you'll be lucky to find anything easily recognizable. Hope you like bone and pottery shards or even literal ancient garbage. Fighting. Seriously. Don't do it. I have 6 felony charges and cannot do anything that I wanted to do in younger years. No one likes an aggressive person. You're not gonna get any babes. Or whatever. Yeah. There's a reason why the real badass is Bruce Lee caliber fighters. When asked how to best win a real life fight, they tend to say, well, I would run away, ducking up your hands, scaring your friends, and getting into legal trouble is about all you get out of fighting. Besides maybe a quick rush of endorphins. Scaring your friends. I'm surprised this isn't mentioned more when talking about fighting. Walking away slowly from a nearby explosion. Puts on shades with a bored, disinterested look on face. Sex in the shower. It's cramped and difficult to find a good angle. You can't move too much without the risk of slipping. And water is a terrible lubricant. A feature-length romantic drama filled with conflict and angst that, in real life, could have been resolved with 5 minutes of discussion and a phone call. Penetrative sex with only a few seconds of kissing as foreplay. So painful. My wife and I are always making fun of this. I'll joke, oh look how much more efficient they are and such. Conversations. Always have the perfect thing to say and everything flows. A lot of convos in movies would be considered very abnormal in real life, if you really picture it. Surfing on the top of a van like in the iconic movie Teen Wolf. In high school my friends and I tried this while driving on the beach. So as not to get dead. Well, I fell off anyways and hit my head. I also broke a toe, of all things. A few people have said fighting, but I feel like it should be specified that winning a fight is not a fun experience in real life. Most people in actual serious fights aren't gonna have some kind of plot relevant, narratively satisfying thing on their mind that makes the inevitable bruises, fractures feel like they were worth it for the sake of justice or something, and not just more avoidable suffering that you wish you could have stayed home for instead. Overtaking ships as a pirate. Stalking women. I mean, surprise elaborate romantic gestures from a complete stranger. She just calls it stalking because she doesn't know me and can't see how romantic and handsome and awesome I'm in my head. Military movies where there is always action happening. Really? Really Hollywood? Are you sure people don't sit around 95% of the time doing nothing? If they made a movie of how things really were, it'd flop hardcore. Spontaneously breaking into song in the middle of public. Carrying and drinking hard liquor out of a flask. In movies, it looks kind of normal, but in real life, you just look like an alcoholic. Eating too many edibles. I know it's specific, but it's weird when it comes to edibles. Filmmakers seem to forget how cannabis works. There are way too many scenes where the consequences of someone eating a few too many edibles are depicted as fairly minor and funny. I love getting high, I hate eating too many edibles. Living paycheck to paycheck or not making enough to survive in the city you live in. Having a shitload of roommates. Working in a lab. Wish I hadn't done STEM. The money and job opportunities are crap. In the UK anyway. Coding. Theme parks. They don't show that you have to wait over an hour for the best rides and how expensive the food cost in there. Smashing a window with your fist. Does fighting count? Even if you win in real life your hands and wrists ducking hurt and after the adrenaline dumps you just feel kinda sad.